6 p.m. in Boya, chief town of the Southwest region. Same time right here in Akwadwala. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining me on this edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe television. First, our major story. Police officers go to war against increasing cases of femicide in Cameroon. During a training organized by a civil society organization, police officers drawn from the east, Adamawa, north, far north regions were drilled on how to combat the rising cases of gender-based violence. In this edition of the news, we'll be giving you some latest updates as far as gender-based violence is concerned. That is our lone major story tonight. Stay with us for details and more. If you're just joining us, then no, you are watching the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe television, and we are broadcasting live right here in the economic capital city, Douala. For presentation, I am Immaculate Fogwe. The increasing cases of gender-based violence in Cameroon is preoccupying civil society actors and human rights defenders. Recently, a workshop organized in NGANDI enabled the training of some law enforcement officers with the needed skills that will enable them better combat cases of gender-based violence. We have details with Lucilengo.
Gender-based violence remains a critical issue in Cameroon, affecting many individuals, particularly women and girls. A significant proportion of women are experiencing physical, sexual, or emotional violence that can result in death. This has been the case across the country, with 67 women who have lost their lives from the start of 2024.
It is very recurrent in the far north region. Many women are being victims. For example, we had a case of a teacher who was murdered by the husband. In other cases, children were sent to early marriages. Many women who come and complain at the commissariat.
The increase in cases of violence in the country preoccupies many. An organization known in French as Observatoire du Politique en Afrique is organizing a workshop. It aims at providing enforcement officers from 5 regions: the East, the Adamawa, the Far North and North region, with skills which will help them fight against this ill.
Through this workshop, we want to not only build, but we want to empower our policemen, our police, with many tools, because in our society it's crucial for us to understand that it's not easy. And if our country, our police don't help our government to fight against it, it will be very difficult for Cameroon to recover from this kind of situation.
The participants of the workshop say this will help them acquire applied knowledge.
Most of the cases we sensitize them, we allow them to open up. We even accompany some of them. We do follow up. We also do the judicial volley to see that the culprits are being sanctioned so that they shouldn't do that again.
Advocacy and collaboration between government and community leaders are vital for creating a safer environment for all.
Lucilengo reporting there. Now we take you to the conflict Southwest region, where inhabitants of Mineman village in Guti subdivision are still waiting for the final decision with regards to the vacant throne. An order prohibiting public manifestations was signed by the divisional officer at Tengeneng Oben, stopping the enthronement ceremony of Bison Williams. Some Mineman kinsmen are demanding that the matter should be resolved as soon as possible, because they are in dire need of a traditional ruler. Smaji Kangero tells us more.
The identification of Mbue Bison Williams as the chief of Mayemen village in Guti subdivision, Pemwaninguba division of the Southwest region by kingmakers has divided the village into 2 camps. While some members of the Mayemen community see Mbue Bison Williams as the chief, the camp of the Sones family, who say it is their throne, refutes the information.
I see the story all over the place, and Mbue Bisong is called the chief of Manyemen. If you are reporting and calling Mbue Bisong the chief of Manyemen and you don't have proof of it, henceforth desist from doing it. If they bring a story to you about him as a chief, ask to see proof that he is chief.
For them, some documents talk about it.
Inasmuch as it is a traditional thing, because the administration is involved, they issue a prefectural order. If you do not see a prefectural order, and you see a document signed by all family heads of Manyemen saying that Mbue Bisong is not our chief, and you continue reporting that he is a chief, you want to carry Manyemen on your back.
About the prefectorial order that the spokesman of the Sones family mentioned at the end of a security meeting in Guti subdivision recently, the senior divisional officer of Kupe Moninguba said the chieftaincy situation in Manyemen has been resolved.
Chieftaincy situation in Manyemen had been laid to rest long ago. I signed a prefectorial order to that effect. Those who are clamoring for maybe change that should cancel the prefectorial order, they should go to court. It is not on the social media that they will cancel the prefectorial order. I did a perfect job, and they should be happy with me.
It should be recalled that after the presentation of Mbue Bisong Williams as the chief of Manyemen village and plans on the way for his official enthronement ceremony, the divisional officer of Nguti subdivision, Etengenen Kevin Oben, passed an order which prohibited public manifestation. Until date, Mbue Bisong Williams haven't taken up the throne as chief of Manyemen village.
Now we talk something else. Rehabilitation works will soon begin at the Douala International Airport. The general manager of the Douala International Airport today visited the air transport facility with other officials to see for themselves what needs to be fixed. The visit comes after several Cameroonians have bashed the state of this particular airport. Annabella reports.
International Airport for some time now has been in dire need of rehabilitation works. The infrastructure has been wanting, with visitors and travelers expecting more than what they see. To that effect, the Director General of the Douala International Airport, on a working visit in the company of candidates which would finally have to soon begin rehabilitation works, highlighted some urgent and pressing preoccupations on a strategic developmental plan to upgrade the standards of the air transport facility.
I think that we should be accompanied with those experts that we saw today, and at the end of the process, we hope that we will also have the best choice for the best terminal for the airport of Douala. According to Mbargaso Jacob, renovation works to improve upon passenger works, commercial activities, reinforce security, install other social amenities like escalators and air conditioning would all be carried out without affecting the running of the airport or flight programs. Activities will continue unperturbed at the Douala International Airport. All the project is phasing, so there will be different phases for all steps of that project. So, and we will do a lot of communication about each step when we will start. The Douala International Airport Renovation Project has three main objectives: improve safety and security at the Douala International Airport, improve the quality of services provided to users, and also improve profitability. At the end of the rehabilitation works, which would last 3 years, it is expected that the Douala International Airport will meet international norms and reflect the status of the country.
Staff Lady Annabella Leke reporting there. Election Cameroon, ELECAM, and other stakeholders of the electoral process in Cameroon are working out the path to credibility of elections. Ahead of next year's presidential election, they met yesterday in Yaoundé to discuss how to improve the country's electoral process. Babla Jonathan tells us more.
Election stakeholders brainstorm on what has been qualified as a peaceful electoral dialogue, a pillar of democratic governance. The elections organizing body, Elections Cameroon, ELECAM, has brought them together in Yaoundé to discuss the way to peaceful, transparent and credible elections in 2025 and 2026. At the opening of the second edition of the consultative platform between ELECAM and other stakeholders, the president of ELECAM, Eno Abrams Egwe, underscored the point that democracy is a journey, not a destination. A journey requiring from stakeholders flexibility, innovation and collective action.
Le fichier électoral toiletté était constitué de 7 millions.
The Director General of Elections, Eric Esuse, updates participants on the number of registered potential voters, which stands at a little above 7 million. Some of the stakeholders urged Elections Cameroon to press for improvements in the electoral process. He highlights amendments that should be made in the registration of potential voters and issuance of voters' cards. To him, electoral cards should be issued immediately after registration.
I have also instructed all our teams at all levels to carefully monitor operations relating to the revision of electoral register. They all converge on the idea that democracy offers an ideal framework for continuous and structured dialogue in a constructive environment marked by peace and cohesion. The participants therefore expect that the implementation of recommendations of the meeting will guarantee a peaceful environment for credible and transparent elections in the country as Cameroonians go to the polls to elect their president in 2025 and municipal councillors and members of parliament in 2026.
Now to our health page. As students count weeks to go on first-term break for the end-of-year festivities, health professionals and promoters are concerned about their health. In this regard, health professionals are amplifying sensitization campaigns on how they can better prevent the spread of HIV and AIDS in schools in the Littoral region and equally beyond. Innocent Aze reports.
Human health remains vulnerable to HIV and AIDS, particularly among young people today, who seem to ignore abstinence. However, health professionals keep raising awareness and advice on modes of prevention. As first-term holiday approaches, health professionals from different school health clubs in the Littoral region strive to sensitize thousands of students on the dangers of HIV/AIDS and its prevention methods.
MINISEC, through the school health inspection, have collaborated with ECPAF to work with partners in order to build the capacities of school health clubs through school nurses and other coordinators of health clubs to help us multiply this effect on sensitizing our students during assemblies and organizing workshops to permit our students be aware of this dangerous disease, HIV/AIDS, so that when they are going on holidays, they already have at the back of their mind that they are going to stay out of problem.
Health experts from 127 school health clubs have been invited to merge ideas for the main goal to be achieved.
Last year we trained about 74 schools and they went ahead to sensitize about 80,000 students. So this year we have invited 127 schools with the hope of sensitizing at least 100,000 students in Littoral, which is about a quarter of the student population of Littoral.
Screening will also be conducted by the team in schools in order to kick HIV and AIDS out of the school milieu.
With the help of partners too, it's going to help us to do voluntary screening. The cases that will be detected will be sent to the treatment centers for adequate follow-up and treatment.
It's always good to know our status, so they need to prevent themselves and more on health education.
Abstinence is projected as the sole reliable barrier to this deadly disease.
The watchword is abstinence, and when we cannot abstain, we simply make sure that we use a systematic and correct use of condoms.
It's always very important to take some certain measures to avoid things that can predispose us of having the HIV disease.
Parents are also encouraged to continue sensitizing their children. This will help keep the school milieu and the Cameroonian society healthy.
Innocent Aze ending this first part of the news. Talking Point is up next. Tonight on Talking Point, we'll be looking at the major causes of rising cases of intoxication and food poisoning recorded in Cameroon and how we can possibly prevent such cases. My guest tonight is a nutritionist. He's known as NGANDI Blaise BIBSI. Good evening. It's a pleasure having you on Talking Point tonight.
Immaculate, good evening, all the viewers on Equinoxe TV. It's a privilege to be here today.
Blaise, at least 30 persons are currently hospitalized in hospitals in Dakar and Subum. There are localities in the Douala 3 subdivision following their participation in the birthday party. They are said to have suffered from food intoxication during the feast. The organizer says they all ate jollof rice and popcorn. As a nutritionist, can you explain to us what must have gone wrong?
Now, in occasions, we have the tendency of having a lot of people mingling with food. And when we are talking about food intoxication and food poisoning, it's important to know the difference between both of them, because they have about 90% similarities what happens. But so in this case, we see a lot of people maybe interacting with food, and by possibility, there must have been some substances that by chance get into food that makes it not to be healthy enough, or the way they have been preserving this food not to be healthy enough at the point of consumption.
Now, we'd like to know from you, what's the difference between food poisoning and food intoxication?
Food intoxication happens from cultivation. Now, what the farmer uses to raise that crop is what intoxicates that plant at that time. But now when the plant gets to the final stage where it's to be consumed, that is where it is going to be determined whether it is food poisoning that is going to provoke this effect or not, because with toxins are already inside the food at the level of food intoxication. They're already there before you consume it. But with food poisoning, the food can just be natural and all the hygiene purposes have been kept in place, but the people who are handling the food, the way the food has been stored, the temperatures at which it has been kept, it is not safe enough for consumption, and it now causes bacteria to begin to multiply in food at that time, which is not healthy for the system, and it becomes food poisoning.
Now, many of us have limited knowledge on how we can store food. What is the proper way of storing food, especially in an area like Douala where the climate is very hot?
Now, food after preparation, we can store food in the fridge. That's when it is at normal temperature after being prepared. We can store in the fridge and then reheat it later, and we reheat just the quantity that we need to consume, so that we avoid a lot of giving bacteria a lot of chances for multiplication. So the best way of storage is storage in the fridge. So food cannot be stored in in a lukewarm temperature or at a room temperature, because that is the portion where bacteria works highest. It is either food is served hot or it is kept at a very cool temperature. When it is in between, it gives room for bacteria to breed.
Are the symptoms between food poisoning and food intoxication similar?
Yeah, the symptoms are similar. Like I said from the beginning, they have about 90% similarities, because all the cause diseases, all of them have toxins, but the way they are being introduced and the way they are being managed, that's where cuts the difference. Because a food can be intoxicated and then managed well, it will not have that effect the way it takes or it works in the human system when food poisoning is involved, because food poisoning comes from external things that we do to poison that food.
A lot of us attend birthday parties, marriages, and other feasts, and we are served with different delicacies. Which foods are commonly associated with food poisoning when we are served?
Now, generally, we go with vegetables. Vegetables are the highest groups of foods that are risk to having food intoxication, because at the farms they use a lot of inorganic manure to raise these crops, of which we have been learning even in our primary schools that it is better to use organic manure to raise our crops. And when we raise them with organic materials, we get healthier crops. But because of the economy and people want to make money fast, they tend to use a lot of artificial fertilizers as inorganic manure, and this is what causes all these toxins to be in food.
Home with, let's say, a neighbor, a friend, and this person shows signs of food poisoning. In case I don't take that person to the hospital immediately, what are the potential complications that may occur?
Now, if you have a severe case and it is not well handled, you can have a double vision, or you can have blur vision. At some point, you can even have difficulties swallowing. You can have difficulty swallowing food, or you can have some cramps, some severe cramps around the abdomen. So there are many of them, but those are the most prominent ones that we have we have difficulty swallowing, and then we have double visions, or we have blurred visions. You can have blocked nostrils for those who have nausea, because nausea is another form of it's another symptom for food poisoning.
What should one do immediately he or she discovers that he's a victim of food poisoning?
Very important. At this point, it will depend on the severity or the response to how the toxins were in that person's system, or how the food was concentrated with this bacteria. But the very first thing you should do and must do, if you are alert, if you are not in a coma or something, you should take sips of water. You need to keep your body hydrated. Avoid taking a large quantity of water at a time, because the possible symptom is that you can vomit or you can have watery stool. So if you drink a lot of water, the tendency is that you will have it very, very heavy at these two signs. So you take sips of water, and then another option is that you can locate a closest hospital where they can do some tests and find out what bacteria is causing you to have that condition, and possibly prescribe to you some antibiotics that will counter the effect of these microorganisms.
And what are some good food safety practices every Cameroonian needs to follow?
Now, very, very good. We have been learning that it's good to wash our hands. We should wash our hands when preparing food. We should not talk on food when we have occasions. We should always put on a face mask for those who have beards in the kitchen. For women, they should always cover their heads with headscarf, and avoid mixing a lot of, avoid dirtying the environment where you're using to prepare. Make sure that it is as clean as possible. Another way you can also avoid a lot of people mingling around the places where we have to deal with food. Also, when we bring food from markets or spices and all of that, we make sure that we clean them thoroughly before we prepare them. For some tubers like carrots and we can heat treat them, like boiling them for some time before we make fruits with them, because fruits are not served hot. They are served at normal temperature, and when you don't treat them well, you may tend to have high risks of having this bacteria. And another one is raw food, raw dairy foods like milk and eggs. You have some people take raw eggs, you know that? So those are some of the risk food that we can have to cause us this kind of condition.
Thank you so much for accepting my invitation and talking point tonight.
Thank you very much, Immaculate. It's a privilege, and I'm very honored. I would like to be here again for more stuff. Thank you very much.
NGANDI Blaise, BIBSI Nutritionist at the Mbapi Baptist Hospital. That's what put an end to today's edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe Television. Thank you so much for your keen attention. Stay in the company of Serge Alain Odu and his guests. In some few minutes, you'll be having Equinoxe Soir. See you tomorrow, same time. God willing, bye-bye for now.